Hello everyone, here we are again, and we're now into week 3, and this week I'm working on some bluebells and vinca. Not that much still in the garden, but these are growing together in my garden, and so I thought I would paint them together. It's very similar colours and tones, but maybe that could look quite nice, we'll see. Using similar techniques to last week, but this week I also want to show you some other ways of using the pen in your work. So quite a bit to do, and I don't know how long it's going to take, so I'm going to get started straight away. Taken for my bluebells, the brown pen out of the pack, and it's a 0.5, which is slightly a more medium-sized pen, whereas last week I used quite a fine one. These are the colours that I've decided to use, and not many, so nice little limited palette. The brushes that I hope to use, I've got a really nice pointy one, which is just an 8, and it is actually a sable blend, but a nice brush with a good point, because it's a delicate and small flower. Hang on, didn't want that to happen. Also, I've got the dagger brush out again. I may be using that for some backgrounds, and the sword brush for any grasses or anything like that, leaves that I may want to put in. Right, as you can see, I've drawn my little picture, and I'll show you another one that I did earlier too. But you can see these are quite delicate little flowers, and actually quite small this year, smaller than sometimes. So I'm going to try and enlarge them a little bit, and probably by working beyond my lines, that will make them look a bit bigger and looser and nice and free. But if you find some, do try to study every little aspect of these flowers, because they have lovely little buds before they're open. The leaves are nice, and the same with the vinca. Fabulous leaves and really pretty buds. It's quite an underrated flower, I think. So anyway, here we go. So I've mixed together for the bluebells some quinacridone magenta and some cobalt blue. It's a sort of pinky purple, so actually that's working quite well, hopefully. Let's see. But nice and watery again, and not colouring in as if we have a colouring book. Leaving nice little light and white areas. And you've got to look out for as much variety as you can in this subject, because they're all very similar. So dropping little bits of dry paint colour, blues and the purples, will actually give some variety to the whole thing. So adding a little bit more blue on the open one, and putting a little bit more depth in the centre. So that look out for all the little aspects that are going to make your picture look nice and varied. The little stalks are actually also quite purple looking, so there isn't a lot of variety of colour, so you've got to do what you can to make it a nice interesting picture by mixing it up as much as you can. Different tones. And working nice and wet, really. Very pretty little flowers. And I'm very lucky to have these because they were growing in the middle of the clump of vinca, and the deer doesn't seem to like the taste of the vinca, so it had avoided it and therefore left these bluebells for me. All the rest gone. Such a shame. But I guess it's their environment, not just mine, so try to be tolerant. The cat's definitely frightening the rabbits away this year, so that's one good thing. But the weather isn't good still, is it, for getting a huge variety of flowers at the moment? So have a look at the little aspects of these, and they have like a little, I suppose it's a petal really, but it looks like a leaf. But it actually also has quite a lot of purple in it as well. Right, so that's really all I need to do to that. I'm running a bit of purple over the top of my green because that will dull it down a bit. So that's really all I need to do with that. Now, with the Windsor Violet and the Cobalt Blue again, I've mixed a different purple for the vinca, so hopefully it'll be slightly... Actually, the one I've got in front of me is a much brighter purple than the one here. So again, there's variety if you do lots, so try to aim for that. But I've mixed a different purple just so that hopefully it's going to look a little bit different. It has quite a lot of pink in it. So wet on wet, leaving little touches of white paper. And actually when I washed the leaves in, I actually allowed the leaf colour to blend beyond the leaves, and so that created a bit of a background which in fact has dried now. So I could allow a little bit of this to just bleed out onto that yellowy green, and that's going to make a nice little shadow colour. And again, a little bit of variety going on. Allowing that to mingle. Okay, so while that's still damp, dropping a little bit more of the neat Windsor Violet in. So it was using the Windsor Violet from the tube, which, as I've said before, can be a bit dulling on its own, but mixing other colours with it, like the pinks and the blues, you're going to get quite a bit more variety than you would, and a little bit more brightness than you would if you Just took it straight from the tube. Right, so might be nice to just think about the complementary colour again of the purple and drop just a little bit around, and maybe a little bit of the purple on the top just to dumb it down a bit and create that lovely shadowy colour. And it gives the impression, or try to give the impression then, that there is more going on with your little picture as well. And maybe drop a little bit of the greenery in so that that meets up with your bluebells. Okay, so I think you've got the idea of something you could do with those bluebells now. So I won't spend any more time on it for the minute because I've got other things I want to show you. But another thing you could do is with your pen, maybe get some, I haven't got any grasses in, but you could get some little grasses in and actually just create some pretty little grasses at the base and have it growing in the garden, or in fact pop it in a pot, whatever you want to do. But hang on, I just need to put some centre in here. A little bit of a darker blue one side, I think. There, that makes a difference. Always think about those little centres. Yes, and so might be nice to use some different greens at the bottom here, and maybe your sword brush, and create some little grasses. You could use your masking fluid and create some light grasses. Vary the colours up. And just have some fun with these little line and wash pictures. They don't have to be taken too seriously at all. Just have some fun, and someone at the door, and never a dull moment. Have some fun with these line and wash pictures and allow your style to show through as well. You don't always have to think about, oh, this is what she did and this is what, you know, I should do. Forget all that. Just work within your style, but using the technique as much as you can in the way that I've explained. But don't worry if you know, you're not painting in exactly the same way as I am. I want you to enjoy your painting and work within your style as well. That way we get, I get such a nice variety of pictures coming through. There. So that obviously could be extended with more bluebells going on, more vinca involved, but I'll also show you one I did earlier. Yeah, before I take this away, don't forget that with my blocks, they have been gummed down at the edges, but with using a lot of water, they still can actually crinkle a little bit. So good idea, and I didn't do this until after I saw that it started to crinkle. Just put also a little bit of tape round and pop it underneath and put it on as tightly as you can. That's going to help to stop your paper from cockling. Right, we'll have a look at that again maybe when it's dry. But I just want to show you another way that you can actually use your pen. I don't know if all this is in. But as you can see, I popped it in a vase that's got coordinating colours in it. But what I just want to show you is taking a finer pen this time, is having painted this as a watercolour without the pen. A nice idea is to actually then afterwards, when it's dry, take your pen and perhaps bring up just a few little areas that you might need to stand out a little bit more. Not everywhere, just here and there. Put a little bit of pen on and it makes a huge difference to a picture that might have been weak otherwise. So I'm just popping a little bit of pen around the sort of areas that need bringing up and that are in the focal point. Because when you've got something as delicate and complicated as this, it's quite difficult to actually depict this in a way that's going to help it to show up really well. So popping the pen on here and there afterwards is going to make a big difference. Holding your pen loosely again and just deciding where you just need to bring up these lovely little shapes, because actually these flowers are beautiful shapes. Not a bad idea to decide that this is what's going to happen with your picture before you start, and then you can sort of bear that in mind all the way through. But just sort of through the centre perhaps, doing something like this is actually going to really help. And of course the flowers and things further away and behind can kind of be left as they are, as just little watercolour. Right, I think you've got the idea there. Don't think the vase particularly needs anything, but to bring it all together you could just one side perhaps put a little bit of shadow in, or you know, just bring up one side of it. So that's another way of using the pen, painting first and putting the pen on afterwards. Okay, so more ideas. I know some of you have these water-soluble pens, and this is a Tombow pen that I know some of you have, but for new people who haven't, it's a water-soluble pen which is double-ended. This is a thick end, and this is the narrow end, which makes a finer mark. And I have them in both black and brown, which I use a lot. You can also get them in sets of 6 or 12 various colours, but I tend to just use mine for doing quick sketches of things in the garden that I haven't the time to actually paint right now, or to do a preliminary sketch with, as I did with the bluebell, just a quick preliminary sketch, and then you can put water on it to create the shading if you need to. So I will just show you quickly how this works. I've done a little drawing here, but I'll just quickly draw a vinca. So again, hold this pen really lightly, and it will actually make quite thick marks even with the fine end, and much thicker marks. This one's running out a bit. with the thick end. I don't use that thick end very much, to be honest. But hold it loosely and on its side a little bit if you want to get a nice narrow fine mark. Nice music to draw to. These vincas have such lovely shapes to the petals. I hope some of you've got some of these. So that's that drawn. Then you can take some water on your brush and then you can actually just carefully blend. And you do have to do it carefully. It's not a magic painting book that you can just wash over with water and hope it's all going to happen. But it's actually giving some nice shading here and there, softening it up and creating a nice little drawing for you as a preliminary sketch, or to just capture something quickly that you might want to draw at a later date. The other thing you can do with it is, if it will work, I don't know, I'll do it with a black one because I don't think that's running out so much. You can wet your brush, you can take the thick end and you can splatter with it. Not over yourself, but actually on the work. So the coloured ones are quite good for that as well. So that's another little thing you can do with them. But what I've done for just really a sort of more of a drawing exercise than anything else is I've allowed my tulips to go over and create lovely shapes for me, and use them to do drawings with the Tombow pen. Can you see those with the front of the white? Look at the lovely shapes that a tulip will actually create for you if you allow it to die, almost. And the leaves also. So that's what they are. This is the one that I've actually blended, and that one I've actually popped a little bit of colour on and allowed the pen to blend into the pen work as well. So that's another thing that you can do. And I got very carried away doing it all and created a nice long picture with all the different shapes of those tulips. One is getting a bit desperate to find things to paint in the garden at the moment without having to constantly buy things. But let me just blend another one for you, and I'll also do one with colour. So I have these pens if you haven't got them and you would like me to post you one. Not too much water on your brush. Keep your brush damp but not wet. And don't touch it everywhere. Allow, obviously, the white paper again to be part of your picture. I find this is really, really therapeutic and such a nice thing to do. And for those of you who really enjoy drawing and getting the detail in, this is a very nice nice exercise, really. And in the end, I think you're going to say that it could be a nice picture as well. But I have books full of Tombow drawings that I've created in the past, just to keep by me. in case I'm asked to actually paint a particular thing that isn't in season. For instance, in the middle of the winter, I have been asked for, you know, being commissioned to paint a poppy picture or something. Well, if you've got something like this, you could even trace your drawings or use the trace down paper. So again, you can get the deep end and put a little bit more strength maybe in there, so that you can get the darks and lights going on. So don't throw your tulips away. Make good use of them, because I don't know anything else that makes such lovely shapes as they do if you leave them be for a while. And these are about 3 weeks old. So that's that one. Nice leaf here as well. The leaves tend to curl nicely at the late stage. Much nicer actually than when they're new. Right, let me do one with some colour. I'll use the pink, I think. So I've got some pink permanent rose out here and some rose madder. So when you pick up the little touches of pen into your work, when you're working this way, the pen is actually going to create some shadow colour for you. And you're going to end up with quite strong painting. But if you fancy just drawing these tulips without a water-soluble pen, also that's really, really good drawing practice, and I think they just make a lovely picture. They're just so attractive and such great shapes. Pop a little bit of purple underneath there as I had it out. Not much to do really, it's quite quick. Again, nice for cards. Seeing some lovely cards that some of you make. A little bit of yellow in there. And stamens are yellow as well. There, done. So that is a very quick way to create some sketches. So that would be a colour sketch, so that it gives you, so that you remember the colours. You can go back and be darker here and there if necessary. Another thing that you can use, and I know some of you have these, is a water brush. This is a medium-sized water brush that has little acrylic bristles, and you fill it with water. So if you're out and about, all you need in your handbag is one of these and one of these and a little tiny sketchbook, and you can create a picture. So you use this in just the same way as you would an ordinary brush. And the water's, you haven't got to take water out with you then, have you? You've got this water-filled brush that you can use to quickly, nice for holidays, which hopefully we'll be able to have sometime soon. But how quick is that? Just to bring in a little bit of shading into this. And all you need to do is just every so often wipe on a tissue the bristly end to keep it clean, and certainly before you pop it away. Again, I've got these if anybody wants one. Okay, so that's that. Oops, and that's exactly half an hour. I'm getting very good at timing. I'll get some brownie points today. Right, I do think that's it. What's happened here with this thing? It's dried up and it's gone flat, so that's a good thing. Great. So all I have to say now is I'll see you again next week. Oh no, there's one more thing that I forgot to show you. Another water-soluble pen is a Birol handwriting pen, cheap and cheerful, £1.99, and that also blends and creates nice little sketches for you, either black or blue, and you can get sets of coloured ones that I can get in my catalogue if anybody wanted them. But I think you know, it's fine just to have these little colours. This is also a blue one, but it came out as pink once it's dampened. Very odd. Okay, so that was the other thing I almost forgot. Next week, it looks like my clematis may be up and running, which is great because I love drawing clematis, and I will do that also using these techniques. And maybe you've got clematis too, let's hope. We could do with, you know, quite a lot more sunshine really. So again, hopeful. But look forward to seeing you and being with you again next week. Have a good week, everyone, and look out for some bluebells and some vinca or anything else that you have and think might suit the line and wash technique. And I look forward to seeing what you do. Take care. Bye-bye.